Hello and happy Sunday. Welcome back to Witches of the Moon. I'm Eva Maria, your Sunday co-host, and today I'm here to talk a little bit about astrology, which is our topic this week. Most people are familiar with astrology in the form of daily, weekly, or monthly horoscopes that could be found in print, online, or occasionally on TV. And while these generalized horoscopes can kind of be hit or miss, what tends to be most accurate is one's natal chart. One's natal chart is an astrological chart that is drawn up for a person specifically taking into account one's time and place of birth, and this is calculated not just with the time of birth, but again with the latitude and longitude, the actual coordinates of where, a person was born. This comes into account because depending where you're born, the sky will, the positioning of what's in the sky, the constellations, the planets, the stars, etc., they will be, that heaven above will be different, and therefore its influence will be different upon that person coming into the world. And when you're getting a natal chart drawn up, it helps to know your time of birth. Some people are fortunate enough that on their birth certificate, that time will be listed, but for those that, for whatever reason, sometimes it's not listed, usually 12 noon will be used to calculate one's birth chart because that is the dead center of the day, and that is used to chart a good approximation. When someone is looking into their horoscope, that sign, that horoscope sign, we all say, oh, I'm a such and such, like I'm an Aquarius. Well, that's my sun sign. Your sun sign is your recognized zodiac sign. That is your main sign. And though that has bearing on you, your natal chart, there's more to the influence on of the heavens on your life. There's more. You're not just that one sun sign. There's all these houses. There's so much that comes into play, all these things that occur in each house in your chart. So that, that has a lot to do with, the sort of person that that you will be if you believe that the heavens have an influence on your life. Personally, I found that astrology, it can be accurate, but again, I find that the natal chart is somewhat more accurate, a lot more accurate, I feel, than generalized horoscopes, because it's kind of hard to give an accurate and in-depth sort of reading for many people, in a way that will apply to their life and be accurate, because everybody is so different. So I feel that, it's really your natal chart will have more to say to you with more accuracy and more bearing on your life than the kind of horoscopes you'll just kind of read in the newspaper or like in a magazine or online, or again, sometimes on TV, they'll be, sometimes they'll do like a whole, little horoscope thing. I know there's what's his name, Walter Mercado, on, I think it's Telemundo. Sometimes he'll do the horoscopes, in the, and But those are generalized, so that's something to take into account. Excuse me. Now, another thing, excuse me, I have to take a sip of my coffee. Another thing that there's been some buzz about is supposedly there's this new constellation, and it goes by two names, one of which is hard for me to pronounce, but it's also known as Serpentarius. And some people are, oh, will that change my sign? This new constellation that was just discovered, oh my God, is it going to have bearing on my life? What does that mean? There's been all this buzz about, oh, astrology isn't the way that it was originally conceived. Now there's a whole, everything's shifted. Personally, I don't think that Serpentarius has any bearing on astrology, and I'll explain why. Excuse me. When astrology was created, when the system was laid out originally, whenever that was, back in history, the system was designed at the time, as they knew the heavens to be. It was designed as it was. Therefore, to introduce a new element suddenly and be like, oh, but here, that has no bearing on it. That's like saying, if you have a classic car and suddenly new technology comes out, that's like saying that classic car is a piece of crap. And that's not true. It's just, yes, something else was discovered, but that doesn't discount what originally was understood, or what was originally arrived at. I find that classic astrology, the astrology that, before any of this Serpentarius buzz came around, I've found that going on the system as we knew it before this buzz came about, before this constellation was discovered, I have found accuracy in consulting my natal chart. I have found accuracy in following the classic original system. And I don't think that the new constellation that has been discovered will have any bearing on the horoscope or on the charts of others, because I don't think there's anything special about me. I think the system was designed a certain way. The system works if you utilize it as it was meant to be utilized, and therefore completely, discounting this whole new whatever, it still holds weight. If it holds weight for me, why wouldn't it hold weight for all of you? Now, a natal chart, while it gives a generalized view of the unfolding of one's life, natal charts can be advanced through calculation in order to take a more in-depth look at specific periods in a person's life. Therefore, if you have your chart drawn up, it can be advanced to look at your life, say in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, and so on, to see what's going on or what should be going on in your life at that point. If you're fortunate enough to have your chart drawn up with your exact time of birth, the view you will get through advancing your chart will be a lot more in-depth and accurate. But even even an approximated advancement of an approximated chart, if you have to go by 12 noon, will give you a decent view, a pretty good view of the events of your life down the road. So that's something else to consider. And now, with the question of calculating a chart, there are many books on the subject. You can learn how to calculate your own chart. There is a lot of math involved. It is a little complex. It helps to refer to an ephemeris, which contains tables of information that can help you to calculate your chart properly. But if, let's say, you're not that great at math or you don't have a lot of time, there are sites online where you can have your chart calculated, and a lot of them you can have your chart calculated for free. I'm going to post a link in the description box for a site where you can go, and as long as you enter your information correctly, you can have your natal chart generated for free. I thought maybe some of you may enjoy that. But again, there are books out there, such as, for example, I have this book here, Parker's Astrology. This says it's the new edition, but this one is probably actually it's kind of out of date at this point because the ephemeris only goes up to 2012, and being that we're in 2014, I'm sure there's a later edition now that may be better. This book retails for around $12, but I actually got this for $5.99 at my job at Marshall's. I got the overstock price, so I was lucky there. But this book, it's actually a pretty thick book, and it has a lot of information on astrology, understanding a lot of concepts, understanding your natal chart, understanding how astrology, when calculated specifically for yourself, would have more bearing on your life. And there are other books. This one, Parker's Astrology, is by Julia and Derek Parker. But there are many books. This isn't like the only book or the best book necessarily. There are books you can get, but again, there's a lot of information online that you can utilize or reference if you do some searching on your own. But again, I'm going to link a site where you can have your chart generated for free. Another thing I wanted to say, a final note before I wrap this video up, because I don't want it to be too long, too rambly, is that historically, from what I understand, many cultures had an interest, in celestial movements, and many of those cultures held belief in the influence of those celestial movements and celestial positionings on the lives of human beings. Many cultures charted the heavens quite accurately and even built certain structures in precision, in precise alignment to certain constellations or planetary positions. And therefore I think it's a very human thing to be fascinated with astronomy and astrology. And I also feel that the classical system of astrology, it does bear weight, it does hold weight, and it is accurate. I mean, I found it to be when it is calculated specifically for the self. Because, the ancients, they weren't stupid. If something didn't work, it wouldn't stand the test of time, but apparently astrology has, and that lends some credibility to it in the sense that if it didn't work, people wouldn't continue to refer to it. With all this considered, I hope that I've given you all a good overview of astrology. And, though I haven't gone into a lot of detail per se, I'm hoping that this video has contributed to the discussion at hand, the weekly discussion. I hope that you find, some enrichment or insight in, maybe having your natal chart done if you utilize the link that I'm going to have in the description for you to have your natal chart drawn up for free. Just be careful again how that you enter in your information, your birth time and place and all that, and your time zone and all that. Make sure you just enter that in correctly. As long as you do, your chart should be fairly on point. And I think at this point that's all I really have to say on the topic of astrology. So I would like to wish you blessed be and ashe and happy Sunday. I'll see you all next time.